Welcome to the Youth Endowment Fund. I'm Caleb Jackson, Head of Change for Youth and Criminal Justice. We're here to talk to you about our new positive activities themed grant round. And thank you for taking a moment out of your day to hear more about where this round came from and what we're looking to do. We hope you tune in to the very end because it'll give you some of the inside notes that you'd need for attending our application workshop. Our work here at Youth Endowment Fund really talks to this particular quote from Stephen Covey, which says, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing here are children and young people. And these are different accounts of children and young people telling us some of their experiences that they faced in the communities that they live in. And when we think about positive activities, the bullet point which talks about the young person starting their own gang on their estate because they were sick and tired of being bullied and pushed about, we think about how prevalent that could be in thinking about positive activities. And if there was a positive activity in that community, well ran, what difference could it make? And that's some of the things that we want to try and find out. Youth Endowment Fund is an independent charity set up in 2019, and we receive an endowment which allows us to start to look at what works around children who are involved in violence and what will prevent them to become involved in violence. So our vision is a world where no child becomes involved in violence, and our mission is to find what works, build a movement, and put this knowledge into practice. And this is really well articulated on this is the Youth Endowment Fund strategy on the page. And on the left hand side, you'll see here the focus areas. These are areas that individuals, hundreds of individuals, told us, look, Youth Endowment Fund, you should focus your attention, efforts, finance here. This will be most beneficial, most helpful to us. And so building the evidence base in these focus areas is pivotal to helping us live out our mission and helping those responsible within those areas to live out their missions of helping children and young people. So it means that we'll fund good work, and that happens through a number of ways, but one I will highlight is positive activities, which is a theme grant round. And each grant round that we have here has world-leading research that underpins it. So we'll look at contextualizing popular approaches, understand where the gaps are, and see what we might do to build up evidence so that when we come to working for change, we've got a really robust methodology to support and help that. So it's really important that we get the underpinnings of what we might look at in each round right before we go to market or go to open up an application round. And most importantly, we need to understand the context of lived experience within the focus area we're looking at. And through the positive activities, we will tell you more about what children and young people told us. They are client number one here. And so having their insight is absolutely valuable and critical to taking this forward. So once we fund good work, we'll find what works. And that means evaluating what we funded. That means that we'll create guidance reports that will summarize the best approaches and interventions within a particular focus area, which then becomes easy and accessible for those within that particular focus area to grab and use and implement where they are. And then you have the toolkit, the YEF toolkit, which is the Which Guide to Youth Finance. And you haven't had a chance to check it out, do take a moment to check out the Youth Endowment Fund's toolkit. It will talk about all the different approaches that have been robustly tested. The toolkit is evidence, the best available evidence today made accessible for you. And it's pinned into having if approaches have an impact on youth violence or not. And if they do have an impact, what level? So that could range from high, medium, low, not known, and harmful. So that's the level of impact. And it will tell you the strength of evidence supporting that level of impact, which is symbolized by a magnifying glass. And the more magnifying glasses you have, which the maximum is 5, the stronger the impact summary. So we'll build evidence into places where you can go and get it. And then we'll work for change. So we'll work hard to connect people with the evidence. We're going to get in front of service leaders, frontline practitioners, and a whole host of others to say, here is what the best evidence says around the area that you're interested in. And we'll create coalitions that will help us implement the guidance reports. That's the 60 to 200 individuals as a kickoff that we should be working closely with to help embed what comes out of the guidance report. And these are a mix of service leaders through to strategic senior leaders to policymakers in that respect. And then lastly, we'll build support for change, which is about getting in front of policymakers, the media, and influencers to say, this is what the evidence is saying, this is how the system can improve, and getting their back in and changing narrative and public perception on how we might view and respond to children in the current circumstances. So all evidence led, which then means that if we do this right, hypothetically, and we're willing to give this a good go, we improve the lives of children and young people and live out our mission. None of this is possible without building partnership and coalitions along the way with the different sectors that have the responsibility for driving change forward in children's life. So today we'll share with you how young people and partners have informed our thinking, and we'll give you more information about how to join our workshops and tell you what to expect in the workshop. And lastly, give you clarity on who we're looking to work with to help build the best chance of making change happen for children based on the previous slide that I showed you about how YEF goes about its mission. So first of all, let's tackle what actually happens in the application workshop. We outline the scope for the round and we give a clear narrative as to what's in and what's out. This is uberly important because many of you are under a lot of pressure in the work that you do, the great work that you do. And so what we wouldn't want to do is waste any of your time. Your resources are really valuable and the individuals that you support really need your support. So we wouldn't want to take away from that if it isn't the right fit. So you'll hear about the scope and that will really guide whether you should or shouldn't apply. We'll also share with you what the evidence says. You know, I spoke to you about world leading research and we'll replay that to you so you can hear it from us and be clear about what we found so far. We're really keen to make sure that you have a strong application, and in order to do that, we'll give you in-depth insight into what we expect from an applicant and what sorts of things we need to cover. It gives you plenty of food for thought in that respect. We are always inundated with more applications in each round than expected. And so the demand and the request is always high. So part of the application workshop is to make sure that people who apply don't utilize their resources towards an application that they're not fit for in terms of meeting the scope. And two, make sure that people have the right level of detailed information to apply so that you have the best chance of applying. Another thing we'll share is eligibility, which is really crucial. Again, this is about saving resources because your resources are hugely valuable. And then we will do the application workshop in a webinar format. So that means that you'll have lots of time for Q&A, and there are all sorts of peculiar and technical questions that come out that we should answer, which just helps to save people time and speeds up their application process too. Let's talk about positive activities and give some background to this theme. So you'll see here the 8 different areas that we talked about that we focus on. And quite rightly, we're going to talk about positive activities and how that can keep children and young people safe from violence. We'll kick off with a definition of positive activities, and that means that we are thinking about sport, art, and wilderness and adventure activities, which are either delivered alone by themselves or as a hook to engage young people in other additional beneficial interventions such as therapies, mentoring, skills development, and other signposting services. Well, we want to be clear that it needs to have a structure. You know, it has to be delivered consistently. It has to be delivered regularly. and has to be facilitated by someone who is a trained practitioner, whether that's paid or a volunteer. The key element here is that the activities must be deliverable to children and young people aged 10 to 18. And there has to be a focus primarily on reducing violent offending behaviors. With this being delivered, it needs to be delivered at an appropriate intensity and duration in order to meet the needs of the young people they intend to support. So this is our definition of positive activities for you to draw from. Why have we chosen positive activities as a focus area? Well, we spoke to many stakeholders who shared that positive activities are widely delivered and invested in. That was one of the key notes that kept coming back when we did our consultation with stakeholders, and that the evidence base is really limited, although promising. And so YEF wants to understand what works for whom and in what circumstances. And in order to achieve this and do this, we had to speak with young people to qualify some of these statements. Our young people from the Youth Advisory Board told us that sports can give young people a great outlet, improve their mental well-being, and give them a safe place where they can achieve something great. They also said that it's super important to have positive activities that they can get involved in and meet positive people such as coaches, mentors, and other types of trainers. Equally, they talked about sport being dominated by the male gender, and that it would be great to see what works around females in terms of violence and how positive activities may help this. The research question that we're aiming to answer is, do positive activities defined as sport, the arts, and wilderness and adventure activities lead to improving offending outcomes for children and young people, primarily aged 10 to 18, who are at high risk of being affected by violence, offending, and or exploitation? Is this funding right for you? So around eligibility, are you a registered organisation delivering in England and Wales? Are you working with young people between the ages of 10 to 18 who are either at risk of involvement in youth violence or involved in the youth justice system? Can you engage between 350 to 1,980 young people in 24 months? And are you able to reach this scale of young people quickly? Is your project primarily focused on reducing children and young people offending outcomes? Is your project designed to be inclusive and accessible to children and young people from all Black, Asian, and minority ethnic backgrounds? And does your work have some pre-existing evidence base, or do you want to get involved to evaluate your project? If you can say yes to all of those things, then this funding opportunity is right for you. Here's how you can find out more about this opportunity. And the best way you can do that is to come to an application workshop, which will be on Thursday, the 13th of April, 4 till 5. Make sure you book onto that, or Tuesday, the 2nd of May, 3 till 4. The applications were open for this round on Wednesday, the 5th of April, and will close Friday, the 26th of May, 2023. All the very best. We hope you have all the information you need here and can make a concerted decision as to whether to intend to hear more about the positive activities. Until then, goodbye.